if there's something that has become very apparent to me since I moved to Kenya, is that living in Kenya requires one to have a team of therapists. Not one, a team.
Why?
I also find you need people you can trust, because the way people betray each other here is just not normal. So you need someone you can trust, because when you go through life, the ups and downs and the this and the that, you need to have safe spaces around you.
Hello. Welcome to the Ages and Stages podcast, KE. I am the one, the fabulous Vildina Kasema, and I have with me today
D. I am Things D says on the socials.
And today we have a fantastic topic. But before we discuss it, in this podcast, we discuss the intersection between what life is teaching us, the school of life, and what we've learned from formal education. You see, we learn a lot from formal education, and ideally it's meant to prepare us for life. But now you realize life has its own lessons as well. So finding a place to be able to intersect them, to be able to put them together, to pick what works for you and what works for you from the different worlds, and just put them together to make sure that you're moving forward and you're working really hard and you're at the place that you want to be. That is what we're looking for. And that's what we discuss on here, D. Today. Do you know what we're talking about?
What are we talking about?
We're talking about something that someone taught me some time back called the Wheel of Life. Now, to explain it in detail, they made me draw a circle, and we'll be having the circle just in a minute. You'll be able to see it. They made me draw a circle and put the different areas of my life. So I had to put spirituality in there. I had to put finances in there. I had to put job in there. I had to put family in there. I had to put relationships in there. All the things that make my life work. And I had to put them. And what you tend to do is that segment it into 8 pieces.
Okay.
And you're able to put the different things on each segment.
We
itself.
need a visual.
Yes.
We'll put
a visual on there. And then you had to mark where you are. From a level of the in between circle being 0 all the way to the edge being 10. How well are you doing in your relationships?
Right.
So you had to put an X. So for me, I'd say maybe halfway, 5.
And that signifies
the
5. What does
level.
5 signify for you?
Like for me, it signifies that I'm liking where the relationships are, but I'm not content with how far.
They could still, let's say the scale is 10.
Yes.
Okay.
So from 0 to 10, now I'm on a 5. And then I look at spirituality. Am I the things that I do that make me who I am? So we're talking meditation, we're talking prayer, we're talking taking walks, exercise, and all these things, which could be on its own tab. Well, how am I able to handle it? So maybe I'd put a 7, because maybe lately I've been practicing quite a lot. So I've been meditating almost every day. I'm able to take some minutes to reflect in the evening and journal. So that's how I was measuring it.
Okay.
So 7 out of 10 in terms of that. But then we come to things like family. And maybe I'm at a 2 because I've not seen, first of all, my nuclear family in a while since I've been traveling. But then as well, being able to see that ideally where I want to be in terms of family, where I was projecting, I'd be at this point in my life. In terms of having my own family. I'm still at a 2, no family yet, not married, not having kids and everything. You understand what I mean?
I get it. I get it.
So, and I think that begins a conversation about balance. Because I know that you're doing this thing. You're doing work. We work similar industries with the kind of travel and work that we do. But you're also doing family. You're also doing, I see you online with your friends. How are you doing it? Can you shed direction and light?
Okay. I don't know is the honest answer, because I don't think I've sat down to audit how I'm doing it. But it's so funny you say this, because just today I was saying to my partner, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of things in my head right now. And I also saw a post from Shan Budram. For those who follow her on Instagram, she's a sexologist. So she talks about sex and relationships very openly, candidly, and I love that. But she was saying, is it ever possible to balance work, like to have this work
life
home balance? Because she was getting emotional and she was crying and she was just like, this is not working out for me. And I just want to know, the people who say you can have work-life balance, can you really? Now, she's in a different situation than I am, in the sense that abroad you don't get as much help as you do here.
That's true.
So with our
Help.
child, we have a lot of help here, and we have the options to do way more than if we were back in Australia and in the same situation in terms of having one child. So in that sense, I absolutely empathize not only with Shan, but obviously every other parent who lives overseas, because
That's
I know
true.
how difficult it is. I've seen it. I've seen it myself. But on the side of balancing, I think I'm starting to do more regular check-ins with myself. So
I like that.
I check in. I'm just like, okay, where am I struggling? Because I'll usually find if you're balancing a lot of things, usually you'll find you're not actually balancing. There's some
like
things that
spinning
have fallen.
plates.
There's
Like
some things that have risen. There's some things that are about to spill. Like, it's not really a balance for me until I audit what do I need, and then I'm just like, okay, I need help with this. Can you please take care of this side of life? So when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I think the first thing I do is I do something nice for myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's the last nice thing you did for yourself?
I did my eyebrows this
Very
morning.
nice.
Yeah. And like I did my eyebrows this morning, and it brought me so much joy
Ah.
because, I'm not a makeup chick. I don't enjoy makeup, but I enjoy when my eyebrows look
Nice.
Nice.
And if it brings you joy,
Yeah.
Who are we
I was
to
like,
debate
I'll
it?
do just
Yes.
small things that bring me joy. Another day might be getting my favorite coffee. Like I just do, or watching a favorite movie. Like I just do things that bring me joy, because I was just like, there's some times where you just need to inject a bit more joy than usual in your life, or do something that you enjoy more, that no one else will understand or get. But for you, it makes a massive difference in the way you show up in the world. So, and as a mom, let me tell you something. You have to put another human before you
yo,
as a mom. So if you're running on empty, trust me, having a young baby will drive you emotionally mad. Mad. Because they need, and children by their nature are egotistical. Everything revolves around them.
everything's about them.
So I'm hungry, I'm bored, I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, I have a wet nappy.
I just want to cry.
Like your life revolves around the child. So I usually find that when I'm starting to feel like I'm running on empty, I have way more motivation now that I'm a mom to find my balance.
To
and
fill
go
it up.
to fill
before
myself
so
up.
that you're at your best.
So that I can show
for
up
your
for my
baby.
son. Yeah.
I like that.
So that's where I'm at, and I've been
like
feeling overwhelmed recently. So it might
It's
just
time
be
for an audit.
Yeah, and it might just be, as you head towards the end of the year, events, Christmas, planning things,
Family, weddings,
all these things.
Everyone is doing everything around this time.
Then balancing work and all the events that
And
come
then
with work
this
in
is
this
now
period.
our intense period when
Yeah.
everyone is winding down as well, like this.
Yes. Literally, as the whole world is winding down, education is going
As we have to
up,
be
and we have to be here,
busiest
there, and
points.
everywhere.
I know.
So,
I hear you. And
yeah.
I like the idea of auditing yourself. And I like that.
Yeah.
Because I think this is what they meant with the circle.
Yeah.
That you're able to, people unfortunately or fortunately think in numbers and how well they're doing in terms of 0 to 10.
Yeah.
If you gave them a skill, then they're able to give you an idea of what they're feeling or what
Yeah.
they're thinking. So
And
this
this
person-
is something my cousin taught me very well of how to. Unfortunately, he's moved away, but
we miss you.
But it's something he taught me in terms of like noticing what I'm feeling, because I wasn't very good at it, at auditing.
Really?
No. It's a skill I'm learning as we speak. I used to just build up, and then you step on my little toe and I will explode.
You're like the straw that
So
broke
yeah,
the camel's back. Uh-huh.
So he taught me a lot in terms of like, compartmentalizing and therapy as well. Compartmentalizing and looking at something from the outside in, those kinds of things, and being like, okay, how do I reframe this in my mind? Okay, it's a blessing to be busy. Okay, do you remember when you were completely idle? Okay, all of that without really being in the realm of toxic positivity, which is like smile through everything and the smile will fix everything. No,
No, but I like that. You just mentioned something really interesting. You've talked about first auditing, but then you've also mentioned the ability to be able to work on your mindset, to reframe how you're seeing something. Because if you're auditing, then you're checking how you're feeling. And that's what the circle is meant to do. It's meant to check how you're feeling about this.
Yeah.
How well are you doing with this? What's
Yeah.
your mindset and everything?
How
And
are
then
you
now,
feeling about life in general right now?
myself in terms of looking at the circle, because I'm always the auditing bit of it. I always audit weekly.
Do you?
I took it upon myself. I started it, and I always really edit birthday to birthday.
Okay.
How am I feeling about balance
where
right
you're
now?
at generally in life right now.
I tell you this, that I'm always auditing, and as I was mentioning it to you earlier, that I'm always auditing birthday to birthday. So you find me that I like to know, how did I do last year? How am I doing this year of my birthday?
And a birthday is a good nini, because who forgets their birthday? Nobody.
True.
You know,
But then
my dad.
mine too. Shout out to dads out there. But he remembers mine, which is very funny in terms of that. But yeah, so looking at it birthday to birthday. So you find me, even if I have a birthday celebration, I'll be somewhere for like 2 days. And the work is to audit. And I'm telling you, it is one of those things that I avoid all the time.
Yeah.
Like, because I try to do it weekly basis and then put it together by the time it's my birthday. I avoid it because it's so grueling and you have to face yourself and look at it. But then once you've audited, then you know how to be able to move forward, what you're able to do, what you need to change your mindset about.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one auditing date that really helped.
Yeah.
When I was just turning 30, one of the things that was happening, because I've had all this noise about, oh, you need to be married by this age, you need to be having children at this age. So when I mark my family, when I look at the wheel circle, and then a circle of life, and wheel of life, and I look at it and I'm wondering what's happening. When I mark family, I used to mark it 1, 0, -1. I'm almost putting -50.
Right.
And it was worrying a little bit, because ideally it would make me feel so bad that I've not made any movement in that area.
It can, because you see, we tend to measure ourselves with our peers.
Yes.
And then when you see your peers are in me, it happened to me when I moved back and I had no job. But I mean, I was lucky in the sense that COVID hit everybody in the world, in that sense. So it was a new thing for everyone. But also now, for me personally, I was like, how am I so thoroughly jobless?
I'm telling you.
And then you look at people who are at least making ends meet. And I know, anyway, we tend to compare ourselves
work is there, yes.
Yeah.
And I do hear you, because you look at the different points. And I like the way you asked if there's ever really a balance. Someone mentioned that, especially when you're allocating, because the balance thing now determines how much time you allocate towards the different areas. And when you're allocating time, they're mentioning to me that because they cannot be physically, they have a son, so they cannot be with their son all the time. Actually, they travel quite a bit with that. So what happens is they just make sure that when they're with their son, they spend a lot of quality time with them to make up for when it's not there. So as opposed to striving for balance that ideally they were thinking might not be able to happen for them, especially at the point they're at. You might be working and you're thinking, it cannot, I'm trying the balance, but it is refusing. How about like allocating a lot of the energy towards the quality of how you show up in the different areas to be able to, like, if you're there, you're physically there. There's no reason of work, say family, being around your family and you're on your phone the whole time. Like, you're not present. You're not giving everything. Or you're there, but you're working. You're on your computer, but you're watching TV with your kids. It's they was mentioning, like, ideally, perhaps it's how you show up in the different areas, as opposed to just trying to have the full circle fulfilled all through. In terms of that.
Can you ever, like, honestly speaking, can you ever, whilst you're alive, guys, I have to keep adjusting my back end what it used to be. After childbirth, if you know, you know. I don't think at any point, is there any point, and I'm even thinking of celebrities, right? Is there any point every single whatever element of that wheel is ticked? I don't think so. I
think the areas that suffer sometimes, depending on what has to happen.
Yeah, like, I feel like in life it's forever like this. It's a forever fluctuation.
And it's the different areas.
Yeah, because
that the one place you might be winning, the other place you're not really winning in terms of that. Like, for me, when I travel a lot because of work, when I'm working, usually my exercise tends to go down. So I try to do something. I tell myself, you know what? I might not be able to do my intense Alpha Fit kind of workout. Shout out to Alpha Fit. But then I might be able to do a few hours, a few minutes of a bit of things in the room. So I'll make sure there's movement, or I'll walk. I'll just take a walk from the hotel and be able to look around and see the place, and maybe walk for about 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But it frees up my brain, but then it gets my body moving. So exercise is usually at the bottom at that point. But then there are days you'll find the exercise is right up there. But then when I'm looking at work is not going too well. Like, somewhere it's in the middle, or the job is not going too well, or the business is not going. So finding the balance, I think it's always like everything's fluctuating all the time.
Yeah, it's just like, I think what works for me is prioritizing the important things and then finding a way to fit in other things around it. And they're just some weeks, some days I just write them off. I'm like, today I'm showing up for no one but myself and my son, of course, because like I said, when you're a parent, you have to put the needs of somebody else ahead of yours. So I saw this meme the other day. I actually posted it on my stories. So hilarious. It was this lady and she was like, when you're having a depressive episode, but you have to stop and be a parent first. And she's like breaking down and she has to stop breaking down, give her child a fruit and then continue breaking down after. And I
think you sent me that meme.
Yeah, I cracked up because I was just like, this is exactly what being a mom is. You might be in the middle of like a meltdown and then your child needs something completely, and then you just have to gather yourself in that moment and show up for the child. It's actually hilarious, but not so much. But yeah, so like I think prioritize the things that are important to you. No one's important is like somebody else is important. Just prioritize what's important for you and your family.
So would you say you put like the major things up there? You might say when it comes to a day, the 3 things that I'm looking at out of the wheel of maybe 10 things, I'm looking at family, I'm looking at the job, I'm maybe looking at my mental health. Those 3 at that point. Or maybe I'm looking at spirituality, and by spirituality I mean meditation, mental health and everything. Yeah, so you pick the first 3. Those are the 3 main ones. That's what you mean by prioritize. And then everything else falls in. If I manage to do it, that's cool. But if I never do it, then if I don't manage to do it, I'll give myself grace.
Okay, yeah. You're asking how do I prioritize the major ones? Again, I don't know that I do anything necessarily systematic. What I do is if I feel my mental health is about to take a dip for one reason or another, then I'll prioritize that nowadays. That I have the tools through therapy, through like even just talking to friends, through that kind of sharing of problems, then you come up with tools to deal with X, Y, and Z. So when I feel burnout, like I said, I'll stop. Sometimes I'm very, very ruthless with my phone. I'll block the whole world out.
Oh my God. You do not want to find D on Do Not Disturb. And you need her. Oh my God.
Listen, I have to prioritize because either I've not slept well or I need an extra hour of sleep or I've been, do you know what I mean? Like I prioritize those things. Number 1 is sleep for me because if I don't sleep, I am a crazy person.
Ish.
I need my sleep because let me tell you.
How did you used to go out?
I never used to. I'm not a going out chick. Yeah, that's why it's a lifestyle. It's a thing. I think it's in my DNA. Going out is a stressful thing for me. Number 1, because I don't enjoy drinking alcohol for long periods of time. So 1-2 drinks and I'm good. You know.
Okay.
So
you're like, let's go home to sleep.
Tell me we'll stay in this club for 8 hours. Is it a full-time job? Is it by force? No, I don't enjoy going out. So, and even if I go out, I'm those people who by midnight 1, if I've gone out early, by midnight 1, I'm just looking at you like, okay. Yeah, let's go
Time
home.
to go home.
Or I'll go home or whatever. So, yeah, so sleep is extremely important for me. So when I don't sleep, my everything suffers. Everything suffers. I operate slower. I'm not sharp. I'm not upbeat. Something small will irritate me, so I need very good sleep. The other thing is my mental health. Now, sometimes my mental health will take a back seat, especially if there's something going on that needs immediate attention again, like
your
baby or things like that. Or, family emergencies of life. So then you find yourself forgetting to prioritize yourself. And then, things start piling up and you're like, oh, hang on. I need to now focus on the tools that I need to make myself function better. So the wheel is forever fluctuating for me, but
you have tools.
Generally speaking, yes, I have tools now to where I can just be like, okay, I need time to myself, or I need space, or I need a hug or I need a drive.
I like that.
Yeah.
And for me, I find the one tool, now that you mentioned tools, that really works for me in terms of everything, in terms of the wheel, is routines. The things I've realized, if I try to do everything at once in terms
you
of
find
work
safety in
or job,
routines,
I find safety, especially with major routines for me. So if I wake up and, of course, I'm doing meditation now. So if I wake up and I'm able to sit by myself, sometimes it doesn't work because my brain works like a crazy thing. Talking everything, but then having that quiet time to be able to just listen and be able to find out what's happening where within my system, that really, really helps. So that's part of my routine. Being able, if I'm able to sustain it, exercise as well. Having exercise as a major routine within the place, very, very, very important.
I need to go back to my walks.
Yes. And then being able to listen to something. I'm always learning, training, expanding my brain. So you'll find me on a podcast on something. You'll find me if there's an area I'm feeling that I need information on, or I'm feeling like I want to feed myself. So that when I go out there, I show up as myself. And if I do this during the mornings, by the time I show up, I'd rather even wake up a little earlier. By the time I'm showing up in terms of what I do, I am at my best. Many people ask me, so how do you have so much energy? What they don't know is that where the feeling they have, I had it at about 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the morning, and then putting the things in place such that by the time I'm showing up for work, by the time I'm showing up for my friends, by the time I'm showing up as a person who's filled. That I can give. I'm not feeling
so yours is
depleted.
Is hinged on a morning routine.
Yes, it's hinged on a routine. It might be I might decide to exercise in the evenings instead of the morning, but exercise is still there. So I might decide to meditate in the evening instead of morning. And then at the end of the day, I do a lot of journaling. That's something that's very new to me. But it really helps me process stuff. I'm like, that one I felt bad. And I'll write in the book. I'm like, oh my God, I was feeling so bad about this. Why was I feeling so bad? And then it's a debate and then I process. I'm like, oh, maybe they didn't mean it the way they meant it. This is what I was hearing, but what they really meant was this, what they were saying. And I'm like, and then that immediately releases me from sleeping with so much sadness in my system. So having those 4 things in place is possibly what allows me to keep the wheel running, even when it's fluctuating and you're not quite sure where everything, and possibly remove the being overwhelmed from the fact, because otherwise I'd be overwhelmed every day.
Like the wheel has a puncture. You don't know how to fix
it. Has a flat. It's not moving. It's stuck in one place.
I mean, and hey, if there's something that has become very apparent to me since I moved to Kenya, is that living in Kenya requires one to have a team of therapists. Not one, a team.
Why? Actually, I have a therapist for how I walk at home to home. I have another therapist for how I speak. I have another therapist for work.
The way people operate.
I have one for how I drive.
These are the rules of the jungle.
It's a jungle, people.
But I also find you need people you can trust, because the way people betray each other here is just not normal. So you need someone you can trust, because when you go through life, the ups and downs and the this and that, you need to have safe spaces around you. I think those are the 2 things that have become very apparent to me in Kenya. So like when you form your tribe and you feel safe in this tribe, and then just have people who will guide you with the tools to navigate the jungle.
Your mother is your therapist. Your sister is your therapist.
Everyone.
Your cousin is your therapist.
Your therapist is your therapist, So.
All of them. But I like the idea of having a tribe as well. People you can speak to, people you can, at least when you're processing stuff, sometimes you need to be able to at least have a back and forth with somebody, and you have someone you trust. The word is trust there, because you want someone who guides you in something and has your best interest at heart. And that brings me to the point of, with some of these areas, looking for mentorship. And mentorship does not mean that you have to find someone who's older, but then for me, usually someone has to have walked the journey. If I'm looking at family and everything, I do not want, for me at least, I do not want anyone who does not have a family. How do they know? may need someone who's practicing in that area.
Yeah. You're saying,
if someone, yes.
You're saying basically, if you want mentorship in a certain area, it needs to be someone who has experience in that area.
If you're talking about investment, I must be able to see your investment portfolio. I'm just saying, I'm not getting any advice unless I can see. I'm not one of those.
You know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And sometimes seeking advice in that wheel in itself, and this is why I believe people go to the gym in terms of working out as well, because you want to find someone who's actually worked out, knows what they're doing, and they can train you in this area in terms of making sure you're feeling energetic, you're feeling like you're okay, you're able to process a lot of stuff. So having different people in these areas really, really does help. I think being able to have someone to refer to as well, especially who's in there. Sometimes you need those friends you can rant to. There's also goodness in having ranting friends.
Very important.
Very important. But then having people who can also mentor you in the different areas allows that for the fluctuations, they're not too deep, crazy that they put you into depression, but it allows you to be able to balance a bit more in terms of growth in the different areas. So finding a place where we have like a good balance in terms of the wheel of life, being able to have people with you who can guide you, I think can be very, very important. People to run to and people who can guide you. I think that's a good balance and a safe place to be, definitely. And we'd like to know how you guys handle your wheel of life. How is the balance going? What's going on with everything? Are you able to tick everything? And it's very important to be able to check it.
Yeah.
So that you analyze and see how well are you doing.
Audit it.
Yes, and everything.
And I think audit from a place of your own goals rather than comparison, because comparison will finish you. Yeah.
They say is the thief of what?
Joy.
Of joy. I like that audit from a point and give yourself grace.
Like just work backwards. Like if you're 40, like think, okay, when I'm 40, what do I want? Work backwards from there if you're in your 20s. Because if you're looking at the next person and what they have and thinking, I have to make 30K because Nani makes 25. Quisha.
Or I have to have a car exactly. Like right now we're at the age where everyone buys cars and compares and everything. So I need this to look like this. And sometimes maybe it's not even that important to you.
Yeah.
But then because it has to be a status thing, then the auditing becomes very weird.
Yeah.
And that brings me to a point that be honest with yourself. Be very honest, brutally honest. The idea of auditing is to be brutally honest with yourself so that you can see where you're going. It's
and
easy.
This is where it's important to talk to someone like a therapist or someone who can give you because again, if you tell me your problem today, as a person looking in, I'm not emotionally invested. So I can tell you, Beldina, this is the logic in your situation. Boom, 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 boom. Here you're being emotional. But if you're in there in the emotions, making decisions based on the emotions, making decisions based on that, you find yourself, I guess, getting overtaken by these things. That's what I'm saying. It's important to do that audit with some help of someone who can help you look from the outside in.
So definitely, I agree with you, Dee. The ability to be able to search for guidance as you are able to, as you're maneuvering the circle, the wheel of life, and looking for the balance or looking for the fluctuations not to be as deep. Looking for guidance might really, really help to get you out of the emotion and get you back to thinking. And that's been us. We want to know what's going on with you. How do you manage the wheel of life? How do you balance it? Are you able to balance? Are you overwhelmed? How do you manage to be able to just take care of it, work it out and everything? And are you looking for tips? Do you have tips for people on here who can really, really help? Please.
So for those, I was just going to jump in and say, for those listening and you can't see the wheel of life, maybe jump onto Instagram. We'll put it on there if you're listening rather than watching.
Yes. And possibly someone walking through it as well, so that we make sure that someone is able to get it really well.
Yeah.
So apart from that, we are happy. It's been us, the Ages and Stages Podcast KE. We are on all platforms. I'm talking all podcast platforms. If you're looking for us on YouTube, definitely there. If you're looking for us on Instagram, follow us, Ages and Stages Podcast KE. And this has been the one and only Beldina Kasema. And
I'm Dee. Things Dee says on the socials.
Bye-bye.
Bye.